with doing hospital-based?
All righty. Our approach I would consider to be collaborative, adaptive, creative, right? Yet customer centric. And if I had to think of an approach, I think of circuit rider, where you take a new initiative and you plug it into a larger system of resources and it produces a greater impact. So when we started taking our services outside of the hospital, we were able to already use the ingenuity that we had in the hospital. And thankfully, this is like an extension of me. I love this little guy, right? Because this is what's in our hospitals. This is what's on our floors. This is what's at the nurses station, which are the tablets. And they're not just tablets that you talk to FaceTime on or tablets that you're using Zoom, because those are not HIPAA compliant. So these tablets that we have throughout our facility on different floors, they are compatible. IT has made them compatible with its Teams to Teams. So it's like calling another colleague in Teams, except our tablets are assigned a patient consult number. So that is how we didn't disturb current processes. So we're able to take something new, plug it into something existing without disturbing a current process. You click for me, Dan. And here is Oscar, who is one of our digital spiritual care chaplains. And so when we are working from home, remote, we are making sure that our presence is it's gentle. We're making sure that it's a non-anxious presence. I find that when I do didactics on this, or when I train a lot of our new staff, it's really dealing with your own internal barrier, right? Some people are just not comfortable on camera. Some people just don't realize what their resting face is on camera. And I believe that it's personal development that comes with this, because what you see is what they see. So you're able to see yourself in the camera, which helps you develop over time and build that comfortability. So when we are doing remote from home, we are still taking here technology, right? And I'm saying technology because this is what's on the side of the patient. And then we are at our computer on Teams. And maintaining that agile mindset is really been key for us, because our goal is a continuum of excellence in patient care. So that's now taking it's a mindset shift to say, how do we continue to do that? Our vision is empowering, improving our patients to live well. How do we do that and still have autonomy, right? You don't have to have a virtual visit. So this isn't forced on our patients, but what we realized we needed to do was help our staff normalize language. You know, at the beginning, we got things like, how do you introduce a tablet? And we all know saying, do you want to see a chaplain? More than likely, they're going to say, no. Okay, and it can be extreme circumstances, and they're going to say no. So we had to spend time with our staff first, because change is incremental, right? We don't want to force or interrupt our current culture, but we absolutely want to massage those relationships a little bit more. And it started with our nursing, making them comfortable. And come to find out, some of them had their own spirituality issues. Some of them had triggers where they had a chaplain. I had one nurse that says when her father had passed away, the experience wasn't good. So all of these perceptions we bring with us to work. They bring with them. So it's spending time with them to build trust, build safe relationships, where now we can give them scripting. Rather say, do you want to see a chaplain? What about, is this a good time for your pastoral care visit, right? And what we suggested was bringing this language at onset, at admissions. When you introduce the interdisciplinary team, add the chaplain to that. Because you're going to see your chaplain, you're going to see your case manager, or whatever that is. So we found adding that scripting and doing mock style practice, right? If we have to get on the tablet together, staff to staff, and talk about it, just to flush some of those things, then we're able now to move and present this a little bit more seamless. It's nothing worse than staff questioning our competence, because they lose confidence in our capability when we're not exercising competence, okay? So we want to make sure that we are comfortable first. And our other media, and Dan's going to talk more about this, is our Uplift blog is one of the things that we offer, which is to our staff. But other media is where we were able now to take this same program and develop an app for our community. Dan, can you speak more about the app?
So yes, and we're going to go what app, and it's a
I
community.
am just amazed at how much the staff has embraced this service. So they will go in the break room and say, "Chaplain, can I talk to you?" So this will be equivalent to you walking the hall, stopping at the nurse's station, checking in on your staff. During COVID, we had so many traveling nurses, like most of the facilities. And I would just get chaplains to say, I would call the unit and say, I'm virtually rounding today. Are there any patients that you would like me to see first? And they would laugh and say, "Chaplain, I need a visit." And I said, "Well, let's step aside. Take that tablet in the lounge with you in the break room." And I was surprised at how beautiful the relationships, the working relationships with the staff, because that's where it starts. That's the nucleus of what we're doing, is building that trust and that safeness with them. And so I get a lot of staff as equally as the patients. So it's the journey to get there is slow and incremental, right? But some nurses when I was on site, I see or not necessarily knew who they were personally, versus now in the digital space, they call the chaplain for themselves. So it's an awesome tool internally for your staff.
For one of our hospitals in Fort Worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Our response to COVID was amazing. And I was able to personally relate to what the staff was feeling, because as an employee, I felt the same thing. So the year before that, I had donated my kidney to my son, which made our home high risk in terms of immunity. He can't build immunity. I couldn't give him elderberry and all this stuff that we take. So my husband at the time, who is this amazing man with this brown suit, flew in to support his wife. Thank you, honey. At the time, my husband was working outside of the home, and he switched to third shift. Who wants to work third shift, right? Some people do. But he said, "Okay, you're at home," because at the time, all the chaplains were working from home. He goes, "You're at home. Our daughter's school she was going to school online. Our son was a year out post-transplant." He said, "I'm gonna go to third shift to limit exposure." And because he manages a staff of people, he worked in his office. And so it was just, I was more at risk from going into the hospital than he was going to his place of work. And sure enough, so many staff members felt the way I felt, so I understood it. So I felt the need to be able to prove, right? And as chaplains, our ministry is our ministry, we're called to it. We have nothing to prove, but I felt like I did because it was a new initiative. I wanted to prove that this could work. Okay, if we're all going home and everyone's calling the patient rooms, how do we take this beyond that? How do we serve our staff? How do we connect with them and offer supportive tools? And that's what I was able to do. Now I saw pastoral care becoming both simultaneous and systematic. I could be in 3 places at one time. It was so cool, right? I could help Plano at 8 o'clock, and now at 10 o'clock, I was helping McKinney, and then 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, All Saints needed me to, talk to someone, and a mother in the NICU. It was amazing. So now I'm like, oh my, wait, this actually could work. This can be something that we can really broaden, because it's not a line in the sand. And I think for our current staff, it's, oh man, digital spiritual care, maybe some concerns about job, but I felt we could expand. It was a good problem, because now we needed more people, which means we can reach into our PRN pipeline. Now our PRNs can be trained to do this, to assist multiple facilities at one time. So we can expand our bandwidth, right? We can expand our capacity to reach patients that we may not have been able to reach otherwise. These heels that I wear all the time, they have a meter on them. So I can't race around like I like to, but when I am working in my home office, I absolutely. So now we're seeing greater patient output. And it just kept growing and growing, and I got more curious. My background is human resources, 21 years. So my mindset is business. My mindset is productivity. My mindset is policy, procedure, innovation. That's just how I'm wired, right? It's the fabric of who I am. But again, my son got sick, changed my career, all of that fun stuff. But I knew in my heart, how does this HR part of me collide with the ministry part of me, right? And being able to respond, Baylor Scott and White's response was absolutely 21st century, innovative and transformative, as my Mercy family over there calls it. So it absolutely was a beautiful response to a problem we couldn't control, but it also created a good problem, not greater, but a good problem, because we can use what we have to be able to meet a larger need. Does that make sense? Any questions with that part? I know I said a lot, but okay, perfect.
So how she really started work, how we started more engaging a lot more on this type of stuff.
Absolutely. The surgery center pilot proved that we could pivot now outside of the hospital. It also proved that pastoral care could generate revenue. We could sell our model to facilities, for-profit facilities that needed pastoral care. A lot of times staffing issues are costly. You have on-head, you have onboarding, but if you can partner with a larger facility and be able to take your model and contract your model out, if you have to use your PRN pipeline to do it, you have staffing to give to this facility, then you're able to meet that need. Now, this does not replace crisis care. So if they need an on-site chaplain, then you build that. We built that into our partnership, is that we would send a chaplain to you if there are issues. Now, not a lot is full service, because a lot of these facilities were day surgery, and Dan talked about the knee surgery of his parent. So we have patients that the most common thing people typically want before surgery is what?
Prayer.
Is prayer. So that means I would switch my schedule. I'm now on like a 5 a.m. schedule in the morning start, so that I'm available for them. They have the tablet, so now the nurses are able to take that tablet to the patient, but during pre-surgery, they are able to introduce this now as a service, as an amenity. It's like looking for an apartment and you want to make sure they have a pool, which, by the way, that 18th floor pool is closed.
It's loud, so deceiving.
Oh my goodness. So that's an amenity, right? So now the surgery center could say, we have pastoral care available before surgery. I received so many calls for prayer. Chaplain, if you can just pray. A lot of spiritual distress pre-surgery, and I had pre-surgery. I had an organ removed from my body. Talk about spiritual distress, right? For myself and my baby who's in the operating room next to me. So I can imagine, I can relate, right? And if you can't tell already, my ministry style is relatable and relational and resourceful. It's all of that, right? I bring all that with me. So to be able to provide that, yes, is an honor and a privilege, but now it's revenue where we're able to do this for the facility. I think the most challenging part was hardwiring the normalization of the language. It's a new thing. So that's where the grace and the patience come, because you got to teach your staff in order for them to offer to the patient. And we were able to show that we could pivot this service. It turned out so well that beyond just the tablet, they needed crisis intervention. So I've done CISM a number of times in this facility for traumatic situations that before now, no chaplain presence. So if I didn't say that, I'm talking about facilities that did not have chaplain presence, but their leadership wanted to embrace that. How do we do it? So it's building in that time for culture building, because now we're changing culture, and that sometimes could take up to 18 months alone. But little incremental changes at a time create huge impact. And so from that pilot, I seem to believe it was the catalyst really for now a lot of the other things that we're doing, especially hospital at home, because we were able to prove that this could work, not just in full service hospitals, but also in other facilities.
What was the elevator speech that you taught the staff to ask?
To ask for the service?
Yeah.
Yes. And so I tell them when they go in to introduce themselves, hi patient, I am chaplain whomever. Today I'm going to be your nurse. You're going to be seen by the interdisciplinary staff. Your anesthesiologist is, your doctor is, your chaplain is. Is there anything else? So add me as a part of the introduction. And then when she gets them all set up, she's gonna say, take your things off, here's your bag, all the stuff they do. When she comes back, she's gonna say, is this a good time for your pastoral care visit? So she's not asking. She's asking, is it a good time? Because she's already told them, you're going to see the full interdisciplinary team.
Lovely.
And most of the time, half and half, they would say, yes, I'm ready for my visit. And then I would get, my pastor called me this morning for prayer. Or my husband's here, who's a minister, right? They have their personal chaplain. But most of the time, they would say, yes, this is a good time. And this is a 2-3 minute call. I'm Chaplain Kertisha, you know, how I'm offering service today. This is what we do. Is there anything I can offer you that's meaningful? And they would say, Chaplain, can you just pray for me? Absolutely. I want to make sure I'm honoring their faith tradition. I'm making sure that I'm adding specifically what they want prayer for. And sometimes they wanted to pray with me. Chaplain, can we say the Lord's Prayer together? Absolutely. And the call is over, right? So it's just helping them understand the language so that the patients know this is a service for them and they have the right to autonomy. Good question, though.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm gonna let you talk about the next one too, Kertisha, on there, because that's you also.
Right. So the digital care for the hospitals, without being redundant, it's sort of what we talked about at the beginning, right? That home-based approach, that when we get new hospitals, the same thing. Now that we know that our pilot worked, when we have new facilities, it is a hybrid approach. That's how we introduce. It's not a line in the sand, and it's not either or, it's both and. And so some of our smaller facilities, they have a part-time on-site chaplain. Some of our areas that are in more rural areas, they share one part-time chaplain. So now they're able to counterbalance. We offset that. So we have maybe an on-site chaplain twice a week part-time, and then maybe the other 3 days they have me, which gives them the pastoral care presence that they need. So we've gotten 4 new facilities since that time so far, 4 or 5 new facilities, but it's the same framework. So for the sake of time, think about what we've talked about at the beginning with the tablet, with the staff and all of that. After that surgery center, we were able to say this works. Now we were going after more facilities, more of our full service hospitals presenting a both and hybrid approach.
And with this, a little detail on that too. Look, one of the hospitals that we serve is a community access hospital, and it has a census of around 8 I could ever do with that.
Oh, stop it, Dan. I just want that. So our Uplift blog is our way to provide both information and inspiration. And just a quick journey back. During COVID, we needed a place to offer ongoing spiritual encouragement. A staff member wrote a devotion. They posted the devotion on our system-wide website, and they were like, when can we get something else like that? Something at my fingertips where I could just go and read something encouraging. I don't have to go on Facebook and Instagram, all the things that we have firewalls against in our system. We wanted to have something nestled into our site that our staff could go on and have sustainable encouragement. So I'm just gonna back out of this really quick so I can show you what that looks like. So this is our system site, and that's the Uplift blog right here. So this Uplift blog is stewarded by our pastoral care department. And if they click on that, we offer education, we offer religious observances, we offer timely responses to things that impact our staff. When Taiwan had that earthquake a couple of months ago, it impacted our staff. We had, I don't know if you've been watching the news in Texas, a really bad storm that tore Temple up. We needed to be able to reach the system timely with a tool. Our tool is the Uplift blog. So everything on here, we're able to Memorial Day, things again that are meaningful that we have on our Nurses Week.
A little bit slower on the
Oh, a little bit
screen,
slower.
so,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Okay. This was our Nurses Week, Healthcare Week. We featured different nurses across the system to be able to share how spiritual care has been impactful to their career, or how did you decide this career, right? So the responses that we got, and these are each different nurses. So for 7 days, we did 7 nurses, and at the fingertips, they're able to go in and look at that and also share that with their facilities, right? Because when you're featured, you kind of want to share it, right? So they were able to do that. For an example, I'm just going to click on one really, really quick. This is Allison Steen, for example. She is
Hello, family. This is Chaplain Kertisha Grant. your host for our Uplift community. This week is Nurses Week, and each day we will spotlight nurses all throughout our Baylor Scott and White health system who are serving in different nursing capacities, making a difference in their communities. I'm excited to introduce my guest today, Allison Steen. Welcome, Allison. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now,
So that's kind of what it looks like. We did that for 7 days, 7 different nurses from our DONs to NICU, and it was such a blessing throughout our system. And then final, I want to show you this, and I'm going to scroll just a little bit faster just so I can get to it. But whatever you put on your site will be those things that you want to put. But this was huge for us. The National Day of Prayer was where we really used our ingenuity to be able to bring beautiful unity and diversity across our system during this day. We had not had a virtual service of this magnitude before now. So when you think digital spiritual care, we think all things digital spiritual care. What can we do that would happen in the facility? It does not replace what the local facilities were doing. We encourage that. But for the nurses who can't get to the chapel, or for people who can't run to the service, what do we do for those people? Blessing of the hands. We've done that virtually. What are some of the things that we can offer that we would typically do in-house virtually? Well, the National Day of Prayer is how we did this. So I reached across not just our system, I reached across our faith, our community, and brought in other colleagues or non-colleagues from different faith traditions that we could now offer an interfaith service for Baylor Scott and White, but that also can be viewed outside of our system to our community. And this is what we came up with.
welcome to the National Day of Prayer. My name is Hertisha Grant, and I serve as the Digital Spiritual Care Chaplain. This is a day where people of all faiths join in solidarity to mobilize prayer.
This was huge.
The founder of Baylor Medical Center, the Reverend George W. Truitt, had a desire.
And then that in the PowerPoint, you'll be able to get that. But this is where we were able to demonstrate that we can facilitate a service digitally where everyone could be a part, bringing in people of all backgrounds to still meet the needs of our patients, our staff, and our community. So this Uplift blog has been a very, very good tool for us.
Quick question. Sorry.
Yes.
Do you manage these or you work with your marketing?
I do. I work very close with corporate communications. Absolutely. So it's not like a video I do at home and then upload it. No, corporate communications, I work very closely with them. They make sure that everything is flush and polished. Those virtual background come from corporate marketing. So they give us tools to use. So by the time we bring the process to it, they've given us all of the guardrails that we needed to make the quality of the product good and in compliant with the system. Yes.
How do you make your digital tools accessible to those who are of different languages? I'm in the Fort Worth area.
Okay.
So the Spanish speaking community. So with a video like that, is there a translator component? Do you use language line? How do you work that?
When you open it up, there is a transcript on the side of it. So the bigger version of this, you can choose the transcript, closed captioning, language, that you will have that there.
Is that on your digital or your video telechaplaincy functioning as well?
Yes, it is built into Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
So it's an advanced feature that you have to select when you're doing your video. No different from when I use the tablet for our patients and the staff, I'm able to use our translator services. So translator services comes with me in the conference with the patient, just like you would use in-house to make sure that we're able to meet that language competence for the patient. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
All those tools come with you to the digital space.
Great. Thanks. Good. Thanks.
Can you put the presentation?
Oh,
together?
absolutely, I can.
I tried to advance and it was just doing the video setting. I was like, oh, no
Okay.
problem.
Here we go, Dan.
Okay.
Back to Dan.
Okay.
There we go.
And so newly launched, and I say newly launched because it was supposed to be at this point, but there has